Welcome to Millionaire Voices, the business motivation podcast. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to my friend and fellow Florida State graduate, Sonny Ilyas, who is the founder of Vale Food Co. and he's also the CEO. We're going to get to dive into his business strategies, his leadership qualities, his mindset, and his journey to success. This show is going to inspire you guys to learn something from him, to really find out what you can do to start your business or to take your business to the next level. Sonny Ilyas ended up opening over 6 locations of Vale Food Co. Vale Food Co. is a healthy fast food restaurant that I'm so curious to know what Sonny did to elevate himself and create this company that's even growing faster today during a pandemic. So without further ado, thank you so much, Sonny. I'm so excited to talk to you, man. It's been a while, and welcome to Millionaire Voices.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be a part of this and getting this conversation going, telling you all about Vale.
Awesome, man. Real quick, if you can, for the audience, really tell us, what do you do? What are you up to? What's the company about?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little rundown on Vale. So Vale is a healthy, fast casual, restaurant chain with locations all over Florida. We have locations in Tallahassee, Gainesville, Jacksonville, Tampa, and Fort Lauderdale. But initially, we started as a healthy meal plan delivery business. And that was, back when I was, at Florida State. I was 21 years old and, started my first meal plan business and grew it. Pretty much bootstrapped, approach to, for a number of years, growing our subscribers. And then in 2016 was able to pivot into the restaurant model that's how we currently, operate our businesses today. This has been a incredible, challenging year, but I can't wait to, tell you all the, great pivots we've kind of made along the way.
That's amazing, man. And it's for me, someone who's seen you and graduated from Florida State University and watching you become an entrepreneur and as I was becoming one, let's take it back a little bit before we tell the audience, where you're at today and how you're running this high performance company. But, for entrepreneurs out there, I'm really curious about what inspired you to take this type of route and, what gave you that light bulb to go off?
To me, I took an unorthodox approach, to business. I didn't go to Florida State for business. I went there for pre-med. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was always more passionate about nutrition and health. And I realized that, towards the later years in college. And then I saw that there was this huge void, especially in Tallahassee at that time, where there were no healthy food options around. And I'm going to school, working out, trying to live that life and balancing everything. And there was no healthy food options around us. So it kind of stemmed from frustration of realizing that, hey, there's not that many options where I can just go get a quick meal, that's healthy, delicious, but still affordable, convenient, having variety. Mm-hmm. And for me, I was like, you know what, someone's got to solve this. And, at that time, a restaurant was nowhere in my mind as being a viable option because I knew it was just too capital intensive, mm-hmm. even with the finite amount of knowledge I had being 21 years old. But I saw this meal planning world kind of, happening. I was like, you know what, I think I can do this better than them. And mm-hmm. it was kind of that overconfidence, that right. you could say to really just say, you know what, I think I can do this better than what was existing currently in the market. And, when you're young, they say, hey, you're young and dumb. But, I was just young and hungry, literally hungry mm-hmm. for some healthy food.
So you didn't really weigh too much of the options. You just really believed if you saw a competitor nearby, you could do it better. So you almost just hopped right into it?
Yeah, I just hopped right in. I didn't know much about business, and it was a crazy kind of puzzle, right? Because when you don't know anything about business, it's crazy. You're literally figuring out legality, you're figuring out operations, hiring, all these things. Exactly, yeah. Profitability, finance, all these things. And it's for me, coming from a pre-med background, it was oh my God, I'm connecting the dots. How does all of this work? This framework, all work? How can I get it under control? But I was so passionate about solving the problem. I knew if I commit myself and I run at anything at 100 miles per hour, I'll figure out all those areas. That's not a problem. And that's essentially what happened.
Wow.
When you're just running, you're solving problems along the way.
So you're saying you ended up starting that delivery service company and then you just started going full speed. How long did you do that for in Tallahassee?
So I did that from 2012 to 2015. And then in 2016 is when I pivoted into the restaurant space. So 3 years of grinding it out.
And that's actually, leads me to, before we get to that, because I want to talk about where you're at today and what you did to build. But, for other entrepreneurs out there, what were those beginning, do you have any specific beginning challenges that you wanted to kind of discuss where you were growing it from those years and you were starting the delivery service, you were seeing the obstacles, you were seeing the growth, but anything specific come to mind?
I mean, honestly, it's just when you're trying to take something that's an idea in your brain and you're bringing it to reality and you do not have the experience, it's going to be, there's going to be some sacrifices you have to, kind of make and take, throughout the way. And, for me, I was working, 5 a.m. to midnight for, pretty much close to a year straight, so like everything else, there was no free time for other areas of my life. I had to go all in to really learn the fundamentals of business, but there was a ton of missteps along the way. Probably the toughest part was when you're a startup, especially a food startup, in anything that's a restaurant or just food related, that it's not very bankable. So like I had to really understand finance better to become bankable, to understanding, okay, how am I going to, raise certain, capital to make sure this business has what it needs to succeed, and not be so hand to mouth as far as a startup, kind of approach.
So you got to get, very resourceful and almost like a bob and weave mentality where it's like, hey, listen, I just got to figure this out because this is arising as I'm growing. And so, what'd you do for the capital mentality when you were just building? What was your idea for that?
We were unable to secure capital, straight up. So, it was almost like, impossible, for me to find, legit capital, and banking, I was able to finally, after months of growing the business and showing strong enough sales, be able to secure, a small, term loan for an equipment, equipment loan and a credit line, and then built upon that. But it was really like one step at a time, kind of taking the mindset of, I'm just going to generate it. I'm just going to run at sales, so hard that I don't need a bank, and that's exactly what our approach was. If we just, can sell as many meal plans as possible, we'll grow this business into, essentially having enough resources to continue the growth and reinvesting back into it.
Did you have like mentors when you were on this journey yet?
I
consulting with people.
I would say I learned a lot about mentorship, early on, and I met some great people in Tallahassee who for sure helped me out tremendously. And I met with a ton of business individuals in Tallahassee, and I got some great guidance and advice. But most of it was reading books, tons of books, and really to this day I'm big fan of reading books and digesting as much knowledge as possible, because it can really, even if you take one little nugget of information away from it, it's a win.
That's all that matters.
So but for me in the early days, I got a lot of advice that was still kind of in that same notion of too cautious, almost too cautionary, where they didn't understand the vision of where I was going. A lot of people, when I told them I was taking this 500-person subscription meal plan business and pivoting into restaurants, they said, "You're crazy. Just stay in the meal plan space. Why are you going into restaurants?" I'm like, "You don't understand my vision." And they don't, so I would say when you meet with mentors and, advisors and stuff, still stick, true to who you are, what your vision is, and don't really bend on that. You can move it a little bit, but what your vision for your business is. And, everyone will have opinions along the way, but if you have a meeting with somebody and you're kind of seeing, that, hey, they don't really understand it, that's okay. Just take what you can from it and, stay true to what you really believe in, for your vision.
That's so powerful, man. And I really want you guys to hear that, because I'm an entrepreneur myself, and how to have that mentality was you got to stay true to your vision, because it's just something that sometimes advice or anything can't tell you. It's just something that you see. So that's actually where I want to lead to, Sonny, and it's gonna kind of speed up now. Where I want to get really rocking with you and knowing like, what was that pivot, man? How'd you start to grow and expand those years? Let's fast forward now. You made that decision. You're going into the restaurant business now. I hear the advice. I see the lane. I'm taking it.
Yeah.
What was your move?
So for me, I mean, pivoting into the restaurant space was a necessity. Primarily because we were operating and subleasing kitchen space for our meal plan division, and that there wasn't it was almost a lack of permanence in our locations, because at any point, those landlords could lease that space out to a tenant, taking it, and then we're out of a space. And that was just too much vulnerability in my operation. How am I going to grow a business long term if my spaces are constantly, if I'm not able to secure a stable space? So for me, the restaurant, really came out of an innovation point as, what, if we can operate our meal plan division utilizing this restaurant infrastructure and give the restaurant concept a shot, it was a very low risk in my mind, because we already had such strong existing revenues. It's like starting a restaurant with an existing revenue stream. So
this is your strategic mentality.
Pivot, yeah, exactly. A strategic pivot to where, you have to be, I was optimistic.
Your options, right.
I was optimistic, and, I didn't know finance as granularly as I know it now, but I did some basic, formulas, how many meals a day I have to sell to be able to get that to a break-even point right? And things like that. But I really was fascinated with the idea of having, two dual, primary revenue streams operating in one space and getting the most utilization out of it. But, that pivot was a necessity, and then it really kind of transformed into being the focus, because as soon as we opened that first location, we realized, wow, we're onto something big. This is a huge problem that, we're solving, because people were, slamming through our doors and excited that we were open, and we had, fresh food available.
So it was the concept became the meals that were delivered were now in a fast food chain type environment?
Yeah, so I mean, the concept is really, I always explain it as, imagine if Whole Foods and Chipotle had a baby. You go down a line, you build a bowl, and it's got bases, veggies, proteins, in there, and you get to pick what you want, and it's in and out. A lot of people love that convenience of, Chipotle, but but we have that superior quality, as far as the ingredients that we're presenting, which a lot of people, showed that, they wanted.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't want to neglect this, because I do want to talk about the 5 pillars of business with you as for the sales and marketing, legal, finance, operations, but product and service is very important.
Yeah.
Quality definitely matters. Serving people first, everything follows. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, before you when you launched the first location, what'd you do to find that product, that vision to life?
So for us, with finding out, I mean, we knew who our target demographics were in Tallahassee. We were targeting the college clientele. We knew what was, the current options available. We looked at our meal plan business and looked at what were the most popular meals and items on there. And so we kind of, reverse engineered our meal plans and picked out what were the most popular items for us to kind of create the baseline menu. And then we did a lot of work as far as using doing test kitchens and really recipe development, a ton to really figure out, okay, do all these items pair well together? And even to this day, there's 7 to 8, different, factors that we have to think about before we can even put a menu item on the menu. So, it's
and what do you mean by that?
So that's for us now, where we're at in 2021, it's, the food costs that, of that item, the labor costs, how does it hold up on our hot food line? How does it taste with the other options on the line? What is the health benefits of that product? So, and then operationally, how easy is it for our team to be able to, make it? And there's all these different, variables that you have to think about before we can even put something on the menu.
Wow. No, it's like product development. You're checking off the checklist before you could put the product on the line due to business and core values.
Exactly.
So that's awesome, man. So, all right, it's 2016 now.
Yep.
You launched the first store. You're starting to see massive success.
Yep.
And, where are you at in the business now?
So 2016, we had the first store, open and running. It's off to a hot start. We ended that year. I think in 2015 we did $500,000 in sales. In 2016 we ended at 1.3. So
Oh, wow.
it was a
Okay.
huge
So,
growth.
100%
It was
growth.
100% growth. And with that, the restaurant was off to such a hot start. It also creates, this, false ego confidence of like, you know what, we can, we need to be popping these things everywhere. This thing is clearly a huge hit.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm in the mindset of, what, I think the brand is ready to go into a new market. And I was like, ready to jump into another market and really grow the brand. I found an opportunity in Gainesville and it was a second generation restaurant space. And I said, you know what, we're going to open another location in 2017. So like literally 9 months after the first store ever opened.
Oh, love it. Love it.
I was extremely hands-on with the build out, the construction, the management of everything. And we opened our Gainesville store in total of 60 days from lease execution to opening. So it was a just insane amount of time while running the other store and still juggling everything. And it was a disaster. and I say that mostly, not to the customers then, but mostly on an internal aspect because things don't scale that easily. And
I was just going to stop you there on that.
Even if it's 2 hours away, scaling 2 hours away will teach you a lot. And what it really did teach me is that our systems and processes were not buttoned up for scale. And it was nowhere close to that. And it was really an eye-opener for myself in understanding, where we were at as a brand and how much more we really needed as a company infrastructurally to be succeeding every day. Because in restaurants, you have to win every day. The food has to be good every single day or else your customers are gone. It's very cutthroat.
You guys hear that? Plain and simple.
Exactly.
Wow. And that's through real life results.
Yeah.
Wow. You said a lot there, a lot that you really could catch a lot of nuggets. You were dropping those bombs because it comes down to the fact of you were scaling, but your systems and processes sounds like weren't perfectly in place. And there's no such thing as perfect, but they weren't dialed in so that when you were trying to expand, it caused a lot of, friction and not smoothness.
Correct.
And what did that do? Affect sales?
It wasn't as much. It wasn't as much of a effect to sales as if it was just more so like our strategy was just not as sound, and what it was doing was creating an environment where our team was just overworked almost because our systems weren't there to support them. So where like when you have a new store opening, you have a honeymoon phase where you're getting a lot of people coming through your doors, more than ever, trying out the new place in town. And for us, we didn't deploy the right strategy right out of the gate for us to be successful. So a lot of our team members, had to pick up a lot of slack to be able to make sure that we could still put out a great product. But in that process of, overworking my team, I learned that's just a horrible way to kind of go about opening a store. So we have made a lot of pivots along the way to make sure our new store opening process is way more buttoned up and equipped with better approaches.
And what'd you say about that, besides just rushing into it, what was it exactly that was off? Was it specifically, a department that wasn't, or was it a capital? What was it, an amount of people? Was there a specific that threw it off?
I would say it was a combination of human capital, being the fact like whenever you open a new place, all your employees have a maximum of 2 weeks of training, knowledge of 2 weeks of education of your brand. So we didn't have enough corporate support of individuals who could really help that store with, having senior advice, given the first store was only 9 months old. So we were kind of running into this, wall of us just being a very, very young brand and things happening a little too fast. As far as capital-wise too, yeah, we had constraints there to where we had to open in 60 days. We had to get into a world of revenue generation to offset costs. And certain things were kind of rushed along the way, like even our dining table, layout plan was a disaster, because we just thought the same model of what worked in Tallahassee would work with that space there, and it just did not. And we learned, we changed, and we corrected it. But those are all, little headaches that are adding up during a time that's already stressful. That, if you can avoid from the go, it can make things go a lot smoother.
That's so cool, man. It's true. I mean, it takes a lot of learning sometimes, but if you can apply some people that you really get good advice from, it would save you some time.
Oh, absolutely.
But so let's start heating up, man, and talking about business now.
Yep.
I like, let everybody know where you're at, how many locations, and let's start talking about you as a CEO right now, running an organization that's very big, and how you go about that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what was the next, fast forward a couple of years, where we're at today looking like?
So to get to kind of this point from 2017, a lot of it was still that like hyper growth mentality, but we did add, certain infrastructural moves, to the company to make sure that our systems could scale. Mm-hmm. So every store we opened, it got better, faster, stronger, and it was smoother throughout that process. Awesome. Because, as a company, I've always kind of, invoked this idea of, we're constantly innovating. We're constantly innovating as a company, and we're always looking for the cracks in our systems or our product, and we're trying to make it better and better, not only for us as a company internally, but for our customers as well. And 2020 was such a disaster of a year, but also a prime opportunity for us to really analyze where we are as a company, because we went from store 1 to store 6 in 3 years. So and that's scaling across the state of Florida. So wow. Learning all these different markets, going through all these things, and 2020 was kind of like this first time for us to get recalibrated as a company and really analyzing all those divisions, like, you're saying, from sales, marketing, operations, legal, and like where, what does the future growth kind of look for us? It was, it definitely impacted, our sales aggressively. The restaurant industry and retail was, decimated, especially in the months of, April and May. And, in that time, of having to lead the organization, my mentality was always, one day at a time. How can we get a win out of this day? How can we create a win? How can I get one thing done that's going to just move us closer to be better? And, I looked at it as like, what? In this crisis, I need to be giving my team everything they need to succeed and lead them, I guess, on a path of stability and success versus what a lot of other, companies were doing, where they were just letting go of people, and for me, I didn't let go of anybody or reduce any pays in a pandemic, on any of our management team. Wow. And for me, I'm extremely proud of that, because
I'm very proud of you for that, man.
It was tough.
That's badass.
It was tough, but I said, what? You are going to be working harder, longer, and we did adjust our labor structures and our costs, and everything from expenses were evaluated, and we had to get really tight, for a few months, and then things got better. And things, kept on getting better and better. And, every week of this year, me and my team, we get on a call and we talk through the state of the business, where we're at, where's the financials. And, it was almost like this hyper communication allowed us as a company to really, really move the needle and actually make a year that was really set out to destroy us actually successful.
Wow. That's some more powerful stuff you're saying. I'm so excited for people to hear this stuff, because you're really hearing from a real CEO what it's like to run a real company with millions of dollars in revenue. So, Sonny, I want to ask you now what you just said. We'll lead on that is, I'm curious, when you said about the meetings, how you running the organization? You have, many locations. How you running this organization as a CEO right now?
So it was also extremely tough, because in 2019, we made the decision to change our corporate, office space. So, being in Tallahassee to down here in South Florida. Mm-hmm. And then 2020 was really going to be the time where we got everything up and running down here. Mm-hmm. And then the pandemic happened. So we had to put a huge pause on that. So I went from having an exec team in 2019 of having a VP of operations, director of HR and admin, marketing, and all these other roles, to not having all of those people, present, because, we decided to move our corporate, down here. So we had it was kind of, it left me with wearing more hats than I was used to wearing since almost 2016, times. And it was an extremely, tough, kind of process for us as a company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And so are you saying that you ended up, they weren't working in those positions anymore when you migrated down here?
Yeah, they didn't want to relocate. So in 2019,
you didn't want to keep it mobile.
No, we wanted to keep everything. For me, I want to protect the culture of, how I lead and the management team and making sure that I can keep my people, close to me.
Okay.
So we wanted to, that was just a decision that I made that I felt like was best, for the company's future.
That's interesting. And we can definitely go on many different topics, and I'm curious about so many from you. I mean, what is your style leading? Like, how are you, when you said how you communicate and your culture, what do you mean by that? Like, what works for you?
I mean, my management style is, has changed, throughout the years. When I was first, starting out, in the college market, being a younger CEO, I would hire managers who had potential. Right? Like you see this young and young and hungry, individual, and you can develop them, you can invest, and you can train, and you can get them where they need to be. And throughout the years, it's more so developed into where, okay, I want people with potential, but I need people with credentials. And that's something that people don't really understand when you're hiring and recruitment wise. Like, potential is something that is, has to be a prerequisite when you're recruiting. But credentials is the experience ability to be able to execute at a higher level.
That's powerful, man. And, I would have to say that has to do with maybe per position.
Yeah.
But, and where you are at as a company. But like you said, it's vital to many positions to have that credential because it'll speed up time of actually learning of what needs to be done in something that just takes time to learn. So I really wanted to get into you running the business and how you're looking at it as a CEO mentality where it's a business. It has to be profitable. You have 6 locations now, Sonny, and you're overseeing the whole business numbers every single day. How are you going about that as for your strategy?
So for me, it's all about, checks and balances. Whenever you're running, restaurants are just so, dynamic. There's so many, parts of the business, especially in hospitality, where you can be bleeding money from places where you just have no clue. And if you don't keep your eye on your financials, like you're just completely out of touch with, really where your business is at. So checks and balances is super important for us, in hospitality and food, because we want to make sure all of our, our general managers at all of our locations are running a good business, every single, not only every day, but every week and every month. If you wait to evaluate them on a monthly basis, they could have, misspent your money, and we give, certain, control abilities where they can order food, deploy labor, scheduling structures for their locations based off their revenue. But we have a weekly call where we go through the financial performance of the previous week. And we look at, obviously, all the revenue breakdowns, from our in-store sales to catering to our Uber Eats, sales to all those factors. Then we go into our packaging costs, our labor costs, and our food costs. And pretty much it's like a snapshot of a P&L, right? Of all the key areas that they are really in control of, right? Because they don't have control of the internet expense or rent or those things. Those are fixed. So I give them like this snapshot P&L, and we evaluate our teams on a weekly basis. We create goals for them. And for me, I'm very big on, incentivizing, our team members, to keep them pushing towards, what's going to be a win-win for not only them, but also a win for the company, So for me, that's huge. That's huge for us for, being able to make sure that we are running our businesses tight year round.
That's interesting, Sonny. And talking about that a little bit more into the detail of your conversations with them, you're looking at the numbers, you're setting goals. Are you looking at past records to set the goal, or are you looking at where the market's at for the P&Ls?
For where we're at in 2020, it's definitely had to be a huge adjustment. I can't hold those guys to 2019 numbers. However, we do look at it to kind of see, hey, have we returned to 2019 revenue levels? Have we returned, where are we, how far are we from that? And then, are we doing better than that? So we definitely look into the past, but we don't hold that, given the current environment, we don't hold that as like the must hit metric in order for to be succeeding. We look at almost like right now, just like I said before, and when the pandemic first hit, it was one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's really, okay, we need to get better every week. So our sales our company needs to be on an upward trend. So how can we be growing as all the vaccinations and everything progresses? We want, we hope that consumer confidence progresses to where our sales will progress. So we're constantly in this kind of mindset, in our company where we need to be getting better every week.
That's awesome. My mentor of mine, Brian Donovan, worked with Gerard Adams, whatnot, always told me this quote recently that I really liked, and I want to touch on this with you, is strategize, systemize, scale. And the reason I'm asking you that or saying that acronym to you is because I want to know two things right now from the company. One, like you said, sales. What are the sales? Meaning not the numbers, but what are the possible streams of revenue that you're producing? And the other thing I'm curious about is how you systemize it all. Meaning where the softwares are working, how you seeing the P&Ls, how do you make sure that SOPs are in place that we spoke about before that you didn't do with your second location in Gainesville that now gets you guys to be so strong. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about like how you're analyzing your revenue streams and then how you're systemizing your business?
Absolutely. So, I mean, systems are super important. To me, I think that, strong systems structure weak minds. And when I say weak minds, I don't mean it in a belittling way, but I mean it in terms of like, minds wander. They're naturally, creative, and they, people want to think freely. And I think that goes for the majority of, most people. So in our environment where we have tons of part-timers also working, we want to, make sure our systems are strong enough to, structure them into doing what we need them to do day in and day out. If you have cracks in your systems, they're going to be able to think freely and do and deviate from what may be the best goals for the company. So for us, we invested in, certain, softwares where, we use a Jolt software that's more of a checklist, kind of software, but we also have company resources and guides and training and everything all in this one iPad, right? That can kind of create an onboarding process that is more streamlined and just create that one almost like a one-stop shop for employee resources and onboarding and everything. And that's been a huge help for us. And then also, kind of thinking more, deeper on it is I looked at our systems and processes and looked at our training guides and manuals and all these things. And it's kind of, fools, it's kind of like, being a fool thinking that every single employee is going to read through all that stuff and learn and retain everything within 30 days of being with you. So I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? I learn from reading. I also learn from watching. I also learn from listening. 3 different ways of absorbing information. So, just like what we're doing here, and I realized, and I realized I was like, you know what? I'm going to take our entire training guides and create training guide videos. And I created, we hired a videographer, photographer to have in-house to, work on just marketing, but also, work on internal training videos. So that way, at all 6 locations, our employees understand my expectations for how, we train, develop, and also just do things. Even something like reading a recipe sometimes can go wrong. But when you watch it, sometimes it brings another level of clarity to where you can't really mess up. It's harder to mess up. So we've done that for our recipes. We've done that for, how we want our customers to be greeted, how all these little steps, our own company expectations, so that, hey, I may not be able to be in Jacksonville every day, but the new hire there is meeting me in a video.
Wow. Wow. I love it, man, because you're really using, the modern world that we're living in.
Exactly.
You're understanding that you can't be everywhere. You want to do everything. You want to have the big 100, people in one room company meeting once a month, but you gotta be adaptive.
You have to be adaptive, and it's just, something that establishing that culture, is so hard as you scale. And for me, I really wanted to make sure our team really understands, the core values of the company and, what we expect out of them.
So what do you do for that? Do you have company speeches that you're doing to be that voice How are you communicating to how does the company know the CEO right now? How did they know them?
I would say, right now we definitely still have a chain of command system where most of it is, I communicate, through our general managers at all of our locations, and that communication
That's the
funnels
messaging.
down.
Okay.
And they are able to, distribute that messaging. However, these new training videos allows me to have that more intimate one-on-one kind of connection with each employee. Where, they see me, they know my expectations, when I am going and seeing the stores.
Interesting, man. It's cool how you're really running it right now. So what's your vision, man? Like, where you at?
So yeah, it's exciting. I'm like you, I have a never ending like volcano of ideas that is just erupting at all times. And it's always going and exciting. And for Vale, I named it Vale because Vale is an old English word that meant like earth or earthly life. So we adapted it to mean, to live an earthly life. So that's our approach to sustainability, utilizing, biodegradable containers. All of our food comes from the earth. Our design of our restaurants are earth toned. But now, our vision is to be, quote unquote, more so like a one-stop shop for healthy food, and it could be like, the Amazon of healthy food, whatever you want to call it, but we want to be whether you want an acai bowl, a poke bowl, a hot food bowl, a salad, avocado toast, smoothie shake, juice, we have everything in one place, so that why do you have to go to these other shops? You can just come to Vale. And we have those products. So I'm always innovating to, try to find more ways we can provide value to our customers, and that's something I really, aspire a lot of Jeff Bezos. He's so dedicated,
yes, sir.
To committing to the customer and constantly making the product service better and better and better. And that's something I'm super passionate about is whenever customers come to a Vale, they can always know that money is being reinvested to make the product better and better and better. For them.
You guys hear that right there. If you get a chance, if you're in Florida, definitely come check out Vale, Tallahassee, Gainesville, Fort Lauderdale. But, Sonny, that's powerful, man. From a leader, I hear it in your voice, the passion. My question for you when we're talking about the product sales now and you're looking at it, I guess I have two curiosities right now. One, like I said, what are your revenue streams? Meaning where your revenue is coming from, foods to your beverages to your third-party apps to your catering service. So what's going on with your revenue streams?
So for sure our revenue streams primarily are our in-store, dine-in and takeout business. We have catering, where we go to corporations, we set up lunches and, dinners and stuff. We do a lot in the medical space where a lot of, doctor offices, hospitals, they love using our food because it's healthy. A lot of doctors are eating healthy and they normally promote health. So they love getting our food catered in. We also have every third-party app, for Uber Eats, Postmates, DoorDash, all those, players. And, and we have some other, exploratory, revenue streams that haven't, fully started yet, but also, breaking into, Vale Food Service where we do privatized food contracts, and such for large corporations and organizations.
Talk to me about those third-party apps. What's going on with the Uber Eats? I want to know what's going on with the DoorDash. Are you profitable from that?
So it takes you have to fight, essentially to get percentages back. Everyone knows these platforms take a huge percentage, from the restaurants, as far as like the ticket item.
It's over 50%?
No. It's roughly, most applications are in 25 to 30%.
Okay.
We have been able to leverage our, size to get percentages lower to where, we can go to them and say, hey, we need better prices or we're not going to be able to be a partner with you on these apps. And, I fight for, our company to, get as much value off those platforms as possible to make it profitable and worth our time. But for me, those platforms is especially for a young brand, those platforms is tremendous for awareness and marketing. And that's essentially when you look at it, okay, most restaurants raise their prices on those apps by 5 or 10%. So that's how you're getting some of that percentage back. And then you have to look at that other percentage as that's marketing. That's your cost to acquire the customer. And that's the delivery, the logistics that goes into it. And if there's that much demand for it, great. There's now this median to be able to, service that. But At first, there was a lot of controversy with these apps, how much they're taking, and all these things, to where it was kind of like a fight. Do you do it or do you not? But we've always been for it, because for us, our biggest problem was brand obscurity and being able to kind of overcome that, to where we want more people in more places to see us and to try us. So if I have an opportunity to earn that lunch or dinner, we're going to take it, no matter what the platform is.
One thing I say with that, and I'm looking at what you're talking about now with marketing, is really making a fan out of a product or service has been important to me. Where if someone's really rocking with you, if you can make the presentation of the delivery feel important, whether it's just packaging, I feel like these little things just touch a consumer, these days. And then when you make them feel good in some way or form, I know it's different in every industry. I'm not going to say there's so much loyalty in the food industry, but it comes down to the fact that if you put on that type of presentation, people are going to rock with you.
Yeah.
And you're going to get sales and you're going to get repeat business if the product matches that type of facade.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool stuff, Sonny. I think, now when it comes down to it, is the direction you're seeing with the numbers now. What do you want to do with this company? What's your goal?
My goal, has always been, I want to make an impact. I want to make a difference in being able to energize, communities with nutrition, where we're setting up shop, providing food that's, affordable, that's convenient, that's delicious, that has variety. And those are the 4 pain points that I initially set out to solve when I started the meal plans. So for me, the future looks like opening up more stores throughout the state of Florida and beyond, and breaking into the Southeast, and really finding these markets that have a true need for us, and where we can make that impact. Because for me, it's not just about, hey, where can the brand be successful financially? It's also about, hey, can we really solve a problem here? Can we really get down to that? And where can we make that impact? Because for me, I know that our food, it not only, do we put much more intention with the sourcing of our ingredients, but also how we're preparing it. So where you're not getting salt, sugar, and fat poured into your body, you're getting quality, wholesome nutrition.
Let me ask you this. Am I talking to the founder of the Vale Chipotle?
I think that you're talking to the next big thing. Absolutely. I think we're going to dwarf Chipotle in the future. And I have, large ambitions, to be able to, take us to the next level, and, 100 plus stores, 200 plus, whatever, we need, wherever we need to be to, not only provide our food to customers. We're going to do everything we can for the customer, and we're going to keep on innovating to meet their needs, because we know that there's going to be a constant evolution of things they're going to ask us to do. And for me, that's who my boss is. I always fight to win. I always tell our team, I said, listen, I don't pay your payrolls. I say the customers do. They provide us with the revenue to be able to do so. I was like, so we need to give them the absolute best service we can every day, and get better and better every day to win their business. So for me, I'm super excited about that. And, I grew up an avid fan of Chipotle. I love Chipotle. I think that what they've been able to do was revolutionary in food, to be able to streamline making quality food accessible. And I was a kid, in high school going to Chipotle's, and I actually have a funny video of me at 18 years old making my own burrito behind the line. The Chipotle people in corporate probably wouldn't be too happy that their manager let a customer make their own burrito. But I have that video for another time, where, I've always kind of gravitated towards, this thing in the back of my head. Hospitality and food has always been there. So for me to be able to be in the position to compete with Chipotle is awesome, to me, to be able to compete with Chipotle. And in Gainesville, Florida, we're next door to a Chipotle. In Jacksonville, we're next door to them.
I love
so
that.
To me, it brings it full circle.
Yeah, it's full circle.
Yeah, I'm fighting it. Now I'm competing with them. And, hopefully we'll grow and grow and grow to a point to where we're competing with them on a bigger national level.
God bless, man. Yeah, from your words to God's ears, I wish you the most success, man, because you truly have been someone who's embodied what it takes to be successful. And, you've inspired me. We both, I remember our Twitter conversations back in 2015, and just both committing to visions and watching them evolve now. I think your mentality is grand. I think it's real. I think you're someone who's committed and you're going places. And, if I can help in any way, or, just be someone who's just knowing that is in your contact book, who has your vote, I'm here for you, man. I think that's phenomenal. And I know you're going to make it happen. So
absolutely, man. One day at a time.
It leads me now to, we will go into more business and understanding really just what you're going to do to get there. When we can talk about investment and your strategy on more of a capitalistic mentality of doing good business. Do you have any thoughts of the direction you're going to go in that with that topic?
As far as like raising further capital, or for me, when it comes to future growth, right now, and we are still like recalibrating from the pandemic in 2019 and getting things situated, but for me, yeah, we are, in the process of, looking for the right type of capital. Throughout the years, seeing our growth, we've had tons of people come at us, with offers we have over 100 people that have requested to franchise us. We have all these, different things coming our way, but I haven't found the right type of capital. And that's something that I think is super important for people to understand, is what is the right type of capital, for a business to succeed. For me, at the stage that we're at, we're looking for, someone that is either, going to give us the time to deploy the capital and create a return on the capital employed, or someone who's going to bring capital and experience to help us get to the next level of scale.
I like that. There's a lot of options to weigh. It's I would say definitely have great attorneys around you.
Absolutely.
People who know how to negotiate and really just being very calculated. Because, what I've learned at this level, seeing, high level business, it's very much chess, and it's very strategic, and it becomes about money at that level.
Absolutely.
So it's very important just to understand the difference between your dream and serving people and doing good business.
Exactly.
Because that's a different world in capitalism.
I'll touch on that a little bit, is like, when I first started, it was about solving a problem and being able to, really just like innovate and like be, there 100% for the customer. But I realized throughout the years, in order to be there for the customer, our financials had to be there too. Mm-hmm. And you can't, like there's some companies where they're just like, oh, we're just, they're just burning through their cash flow, or burning through capital raises because they're just trying to, win the customer or win market share and things like that. I think there needs to be a fine balance between, there's a respect to the financial performance of the company and also innovation, to where, at the end of the day, if you don't have a sound financial, company, there's no company. Mm-hmm. You can't help the customer at that point. So,
Sonny, real quick, actually, before I want to jump into something, a very important topic with you, is what do you do for legal? Where's your head at with like how you handling situations that are coming up in the stores? How you protecting the company? What insurances are you working with? How do you view all that stuff?
Yeah, we have full coverage, general liability, insurance, policies, protecting the company. We have additional ones, as needed, like in South Florida, we have to have mm-hmm. hurricane protection. And mm-hmm. And as far as legal, we have a law firm that, we hire to represent us, that essentially we use on a case-to-case, scenario. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, we haven't had to use them, as much, so thankfully, yeah. But, I think it's so important to have those things, in place, to where if something does arise, you have a go-to resource, there, because there's specialization, if that's where their skills are, you need to be able to have someone you trust that's giving you the sound advice and that can defend you if a crisis does present itself, and you stick to what you're good at. Knowing your strengths.
I love it. The last topic I'll say before we jump into our next discussion is, I want you to quickly throw some tips out there for what you're doing in marketing. How you viewing marketing in your company?
Marketing and sales are my two favorite parts of the business, mm-hmm. because it's so exciting. They both work with each other, right? Mm-hmm. If you have a great product, the marketing for that product will translate into great sales. And that marketing sales funnel is so important, because if you're doing marketing on a high level, your organic marketing should naturally lead to sales. But for me, I'm always evaluating our marketing to see what new approaches can we take. Same thing. It always comes down to that innovation standpoint. What new things can we be doing to make us better and stronger? And so now lately, we've been analyzing our social media approaches with utilizing more video and utilizing more short clips and showing people different parts of the brand that we may not have shown, in the past, where we've shown recipe videos. We've shown certain other, aspects of the company, whereas before it was just still photography. Right. So now we're doing that. We're getting more heavily, focused in PR. We're getting more heavily focused in just, where we can kind of run more successful campaign management and things like that. And recently, I onboarded a marketing director, for the company, and kind of speaking to what I said about recruitment, we went after somebody who has not only, the potential, but the credentials. And we're, really excited to give that person, the brand and grow it, quote unquote 10x.
I love it, man. And that's what you need. You need to build a great team.
Absolutely.
And a team is something that is built with the following of a leader and really seeing that leader's vision. And you being in this position, it comes with a lot of mental strength and fortitude, that it's like you said early on. I heard you say you were working from 5 a.m. to midnight. You were very just your timing of how you spent it was just focused on your visions and your dreams. You've reached a lot of your goals. Now you're set even higher goals. Let's talk about mindset, man. Let's talk about you, not just the CEO and founder of this amazing company that's going places and you're going to make as much dreams and goals come true, but you as a person, what keeps you going, man?
I mean, for me, I'm super competitive. So for me, if I'm doing anything, I want to be the best. And that's always kind of been this mentality that I have. Maybe it goes, back from just playing sports, as a kid, or doing wrestling and, football. You just always want to compete to win. And for me, business is the best sport, that we play. And I just have never been able to fall, even when we weren't the best, when we didn't have the best product or service. I was always in the mindset that, we do, or we need to get there, because I don't want to ever do anything if I can't be the best. So that is constantly kind of pushing me, and it has that mirror effect on myself as I'm doing, things not only for the business, but for myself individually, personally, whether it comes to health and fitness, or when it comes to my overall, my daily routine, or how I structure things. I think it's so important, to be able to take care of yourself and push yourself past those limits, because it's going to have that similar effect into your business. If your personal life is crumbling, it's going to have that effect on your business. If you're, you have to really kind of build yourself as this solid foundation and, kind of build that strong armor to be able to go to war every day in business and compete and fight and win. Because every day, you may wake up to different stresses that attack you. And for me, it may be coming from all over the state. I may be getting a call from Jacksonville. Hey, this happened at this store. This may happen in Tampa. So I have to, really, for me, exercise has been a huge part of, making, I guess, me more mentally, tough and, stronger. So I really have committed a lot of, my time into, health and all aspects, whether that's, cardiovascularly or sports or even yoga, different things, and just trying new things. Same thing that I was talking about with the business, innovating and trying, different approaches and techniques. I'm such a huge fan of speed and doing things, because so many people get paralyzed. And, we're in the new year time.
Yes.
We're in this new year time where a lot of people are making resolutions, and, they're probably making all these ideas, but how many people are taking action, right? And that, for me, I just rather move with speed. And that's the same approach with my business. I deploy strategy quick, and if a problem arises, we solve it and we move on. Same thing personally. If I make a certain goal health-wise, I go at it. I try to, look at it. And if there's a problem occurs, I pivot. I keep on, trying to fix it, solve it, and push myself to where those areas are getting better too.
I think you said something there that really struck a chord, where You said something about like when the problem arises, meaning what you expected didn't happen, how you responded instead of reacted really showed, I feel like, how you're able to get to your goals, because what you do is what you're saying is you don't wallow in anything.
Hell no. Hell no.
You don't wallow in anything.
No way.
Because
No.
I figure when people do that, they just go down this path that they can't get that momentum you have.
Okay, I'll tell you a story, and I will tell you this. The number one skill that I have is stress threshold. And working out has helped that, because when you work at a high level of intensity,
Yeah.
like I just ran, a half marathon. My goal for this year is running a full marathon. In 2019, I don't
Yeah.
think I ran 13 miles that year total. So for me to go from not running at all to like now doing this in one sittings and going after these goals, I raised my bar of what I want to do, but it also helped my stress threshold. So there was this one day, in Jackson where my stress threshold, was really tested, right? So I think it was a day where we had a small fire at a restaurant. I was building out like two stores at the same time. I was building out our Tallahassee store and our Fort Lauderdale store with construction, kind of headaches happening there. I got a phone call from my brother that my truck got stolen, and there was like something else that, I think one of our general managers quit. And all of this happened within like 2 hours of waking up, right? Most people would have just called it. They just said, you know what? Today is just done. Toast, right? Like there's just too much hell coming my way, right? And at that moment, I just remember I took a big old deep breath. All right, let's get it. And then, slowly but surely, you just start chipping away.
Yeah.
And I looked at that as like, sometimes you're looking up this, in business especially, you're looking up a fucking mountain. You're looking up this mountain and you're like, how am I going to get to the top? How am I going to get through this? And I had to really kind of dig deep and say, you know what? One thing at a time, one day at a time, let's just start chipping away. Got the fire situation handled, construction stuff handled at both stores. Started looking into, hey, what happened, with my car? And, just like slowly got through the process of, what, by the end of the day, it wasn't, the day was ruined. I had everything under control. But at that moment, your stress threshold is tested. And not a lot of people can handle that much pressure and that, saying, like, you know what, hey, how much, of a beating can you take? And then business will test you on that.
You're absolutely talking my language, man, because it'll test you and it'll also chew you up and it'll spit you the fuck out.
Absolutely.
It has no
there's no
emotion
limit
to it. It's just a matter of how to endure what you're enduring, business and in personal and in life. And I guess my question to you also is, you talked a little bit about what you're doing. Do you have any practices that you do? Is it just reading? Is it meditation? Are you doing some type of spiritual type of stuff to keep you grounded?
Honestly, a lot of my fundamental approach is, I definitely, make time, whether it's for meditation or, like I said, these my longer cardiovascular activities, I tend to do them earlier in the morning to where it's kind of like a pseudo meditative, point to where it kind of gets my day going. But my practices, fundamentally has always been more of a stoicism, type approach. So I'm definitely big into stoicism, and, Marcus Aurelius and like that book Meditations was so impactful for stress management and like really understanding yourself and controlling emotion, right?
Wow.
Because most of the time you're not making the best decisions when you're in chaos, right? How do you see clarity in chaos? And that to me, like, the health, reading, and kind of just giving myself also where enough my time is also critical to where, there's plenty of time throughout the day where I'm managing the GMs, the restaurants, my team and stuff, but I also carve out space and time for my brain to breathe and for me to, calibrate and be on point. Exactly. I make time in my day, in the morning, in the middle of my day, at the end of my day, to really just give myself that time, because I think there needs to be that harmony, right? We're always going to be working 24/7. I work 7 days a week. I know you do too, and at the end of the day, you have to build this harmony to where you can fit your personal life and build that personal happiness in, conjunction with what we are constantly, doing every day in business.
So are you running on a schedule?
I would say now more than ever I am. However, in like the COVID quarantine area, I gave myself a lot of time to kind of breathe and see exactly, I did more so at, what I felt good. If I felt good doing something, I did it, and I tested out different, things routine wise. But now more than ever, yeah, I'm very much so focused on being regimented and routine focused. And as a creator, an entrepreneur, I'm very, I have a creative brain and a very structured brain, and I have to keep that creative brain in check. So if I'm given too much time to just think, like I said, the volcano never stops. So you have to add structure to where you can still hit, certain
I'm going through something right now where when I'm doing my creative time, dots are just getting connected.
Yes.
But I'm going deep and then it's just flowing,
Yes.
I guess it's just a matter, what you said really resonated with me. And I'll tell another entrepreneur hearing that right now is really separate your creative time from your structured time. That's powerful, Sonny.
Yeah.
And on that note, when you said me time, what does that mean?
Me time can be anything. It could be just going, out with, to the restaurant with a loved one. It could be going, just for yourself, like doing something for yourself.
True.
Whether you want to go and get a massage, go to the mall, do something that's just going to allow yourself to be with you, be present with you, So for me, I've definitely been more on the health, side of like my activities. So I've tied in like social aspects of like getting together with friends, doing things, as like playing sports or things outside with people that it's kind of having a dual purpose of me working out, but also giving myself some me time to relax and breathe a little bit.
Nice. I just have one quick question I want to throw in there. Is you have like a couple of books you want to shout out that people should just be looking at?
Yeah, well, I definitely shouted out Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
You guys got to check that out.
That book is, it's a tough read, but it's a great read. Speaking on Jay Shetty, I really liked Think Like a Monk was awesome as just like a personal kind of development type of book, really understanding the ego and the brain and how people kind of can sometimes be leading with their ego when they don't necessarily need to. I love Capitalism by Ken Langone. Awesome. Just dynamite guy. And I just read Invent and Wander by Jeff Bezos, and I think it was collaborated with Walter Isaacson. That was really good, with understanding, his approach going from literally a garage startup in 1999 or whenever to this massive empire today. And
I like how you said that, just for people who, you can look into the audio book if you're not readers or pick up the book if you are. But I like how you said there's a golden nugget, though, in the book somewhere, and it doesn't have to be the whole book. So, would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That, people should.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you look at it and, everyone has their own modes of how they digest information and knowledge. And everyone should look at every avenue to where they test it out. Hey, you know what? I learned more from watching a video. I learned more from listening. I learned more from reading.
Right.
So for me, it just happens to be that listening has been my preferred choice because I like to hear that connection with a narrator, where if it's an author narrating the book, I feel like it's a great way to really hear, the passion behind their story.
And when do you make time? You just pick,
Same thing, like I said, I do a lot of this dual purpose stuff. So I'll throw on a podcast, I'll throw on an Audible book when I'm on a bike ride.
Okay.
I'll throw, so I'm doing two things at once.
And you're
I'm
absorbing
and retaining.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
And, so I'll do that. And I try to fit these towards them. They're harmoniously working together. And other than that, where if I'm driving somewhere, instead of putting on music, I put it on, or I just fit it into my day and my structure to where it's happening, and that's also can be a part of that me time, too.
I love it, Sonny. Really just a couple more things I wanted to ask you. Ty Lopez, I was watching his stuff on YouTube for a while, and I like what he said, the 33% rule.
Mm-hmm.
The 33% you should be mentoring people, 33% of people you should be on your level, and 33% of people you should be mentored by. Now, talking about how you're moving and how you're living now, and those famous quotes, you're judged by the friends you keep, the top 5 friends are a reflection of your life, the people who you surround yourself with, who you become. How you moving now? Because I know entrepreneurs kind of like a lonely path sometimes. Yeah. But how you being around people on your level right now, and what's your circles looking like?
I would say my approach has always been, and like this may be just due to the nomadic aspect of how I kind of grew my businesses jumping around the state. I have peer networks and friend groups all over the state of Florida. And I look at it as, I have, great friends I, have went to college with and, beyond. And, we talk about, certain things. But when it comes to like, business and other, aspects, I'm always looking to, further connect with other people, like you said, that can, are at a higher level than I am, that I can learn from, or somebody who is pushing the envelope. I like to have people around me that are just as fired up and that are pushing the envelope, that are learning, and that I can look at as like, wow, like that's really impressive, like as far as like their work ethic or output, and just similarities as far as like just like life ethos, but I don't knock any of, if somebody has a different approach, to me, like I'm absolutely still your friend, with how you lead. But I just personally, generally, I love the feed off effect of energy, right? Energy is contagious to where like, hey, you see somebody in your circle is really pushing to be great, that's going to have that effect on you, in some sort of passive form or the other.
I like that because, I've been following you on Instagram and I've been seeing you post with you're doing, let's say 5 miles, 3 miles, 10 miles.
Yeah.
And you're videoing it and you're saying, I'm sending it to you. Let me show me how great you are.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's holding that accountability effect. I send that out to about 40, 50 people. And I'm essentially saying like, hey, what, you can have, a very exhausting, day, but still you got so much more to give. And I love inspiring others and hearing, other people, it's been exciting seeing what people send me back. Saying, what, that, I needed to hear that today. I went out there and I did something, to kind of push myself today. And I get hyped up on, feeding, and hyping up other people too. It has this effect where I'm getting, riled up and excited and motivated as I'm getting other people. So I have that natural innate kind of ability as like a coach, I guess you could say, and I do that with my team, on our weekly calls. I like to do that with my friends. And I think as life, has kind of shown, as you grow, and, in business and personally, you'll meet more, people. And that's the best thing about life is that you meet other people who come into your circle who challenge you to be greater than you were yesterday. And that's what I say, a lot is like, be greater than you were yesterday. And
that brings me back to that first thing you said when we got to mindset. And I'm very curious why. Why is it that being the best gives you that type of fire? What is it in you that you feel that gives you, like, you want to be that?
To me,
strive for that.
I mean, to me, like, I've never been like, money has never been the pure determinant of like success to me. It's always been impact. So for me, I lead by that. And like, being the best, kind of comes from that, it's just a competitive edge, kind of approach to where like it pushes you to keep on pushing towards making that impact. Yeah. So I, kind of channel that as, from the mindset of, what, if I'm working and I'm putting forth all this sacrifice energy towards anything, I might as well try to be the best and climb as high as I can to leave my dent on this world.
I love that.
We're on a floating rock in space for all we know. I could be in somebody's pocket for all I know. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I just, it's I'm super humbled, mostly to be in the opportunity that I am in at my age.
Of course.
To have what I have, that it adds more fire to me. And not everybody has this opportunity this early on. Especially as it takes a lot of sacrifice, but it also brings that, I'm more humbled to keep on pushing more and to send that message and show people, hey man, like there's no age stigma on this.
Nope.
There's no age stigma on this. You can do this too. Anything is possible if you really just keep on pushing.
You guys hear it from someone who's really done it and has the results and the credentials to say something that if you really want to go and get it, you can, man. Whether you guys want to go from $1 million in revenue right now to 10 million or you're just starting out, it's all about what Sonny's saying right now, man. I appreciate those words, and it's just wisdom for me and for the people listening. It leads me to my last two things I want to ask you, because I believe this is probably one of the most important aspects of life, and you reaching all these greatness heights. Where's your faith? Do you have faith? And not to be religious faith. I mean, I meant just faith and just what you're trying to strive for.
Yeah, so like I've always bet on myself, and like in regards to like business or in life in general, I know that if I'm solving a I mean, to some people it can be perceived in some other type of way. So not everyone responds to someone being ultra confident all the time, but throughout my business journey, my life journey, I've always been able to bet on myself, and I know that if I'm betting on myself, I'll take those odds any day of the week. And that's part of the reason why I got into business, in the first place was, what? If I'm going to get into a restaurant, I didn't know anything about running a restaurant. I worked in restaurants growing up, but I was just betting on myself at that point to get it done. And I did. And to this day, like I still have that approach. I definitely, I believe in God. I have my own, relationship, with God, but I'm not, the most ultra religious. I'm just definitely, I'm very in tune, with my awareness of myself. I'm very in tune with myself, my energy, and I'm very, if I know that I'm slipping, I know it. I can catch myself, and there's
That's
been
some
times,
realness,
and
man.
then you have to be aware, and you have to, as entrepreneurs, you have to hold yourself accountable.
Gotta
No
hold
one is
yourself
telling
accountable.
you.
No
No
one's
one's
gonna pick
telling
you. No one's gonna
you.
pick you up.
Exactly.
They might be positive. No one's gonna pick you up.
Exactly. And you have to hold yourself to a high level of standard and degree. And for me, I've always had like a ton of confidence in anything that I do or I run after. And sometimes, it's worked out and sometimes it hasn't. But for the most part, it's worked out more times than it hasn't. And it's always been towards, an approach of just like, okay, being that driving force of positivity to kind of have that almost like that extra optimism tackling something that may be tough to hit, or
I,
a tough goal.
I like that, Sonny. And it reminds me because I been working with an acronym right now called the ABCs, and it's pretty much what we're talking about. It's action, belief, communication, and soul. Having that foundation, that belief system, and that faith in what you're doing. But I want to ask you, my last question is, what do you do for your fulfillment, your peace inside, how you operate now at a high performance?
I would say it's the feeling of fulfillment is really derived from, seeing things getting better. To me, I'm so addicted to progress and, knowing that we are better than we were yesterday or last year. And just seeing that, I'm addicted to that because to me, this journey is so strenuous and it's so tough. What brings me that peace is knowing that, we're really, really like as a business, we're solving a problem, we're making an impact. I remember I had customers come into my store and I was working, the front line. I had this guy, he told me, he said, my doctor said, if I don't change the way I eat, I'm not going to be here long. And like that hit home to me because I'm like, I feel so humbled. His doctor or him, brought him into my doors, into my restaurant. And like that impact level, I felt so fulfilled on that side, knowing like, man, like, it's bigger than, this is bigger than business. This is bigger than, ones and zeros. Like we're really helping people. And like, that's when I really feel like my best, my ultimate best is seeing that impact and like how, we are a for-profit business, but we have values. And like those values really, being able to help people is awesome to me. A lot of people, even, our age, our parents, they're getting older and older and, we want them eating healthier and like seeing that, diets are changing and people are so much more in tune with their health and well-being. And the fact that we even have the opportunity to be a part of that is so like, it's so fulfilling to me. And like that's what really energizes me every day knowing that like we can make an impact in that regard and just like help people, whether it's on a local level, community level, statewide level, national level, we'll get to all those points. But, helping, the whole reason why I was doing pre-med at FSU was because I wanted to help people. I wanted to help people. At the end of the day, the profit and all those things will come, and they're super important. But helping people is, was always the primary objective.
Yeah. It takes a certain type of person to look at the world like that, and I'm happy to know that there's someone else in the millennial generation that has this type of mentality while they're striving for doing amazing and big business and whatnot. So, you know, it also comes down to the person, Sonny Ilyas, who's making this huge impact in this world. Right now, he's using Vale as that leverage to let his voice and purpose be known by running this huge entity that's going to evolve into what you're speaking about. it's also about just you being that person who accomplished these goals and is doing this for the world, and at the same time living at that best version of himself. So my question to you, on that fulfillment aspect still is like, you're keeping the peace inside by, it sounds like you're looking at your company saying, I'm waking up every day doing what I love. My light bulb's on. I'm serving people. But on top of that, how are you just being at that happiest version of yourself, being a CEO at the same time, just being yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think like happiness is a dynamic question, where like, we're always chasing happiness, personally, business wise, and all these, aspects. And it's kind of like the stock market, it's you have your ups, you have your downs, throughout, throughout life. And it's, finding that equilibrium, right, in your life, and understanding, yourself fully to see, what does happiness mean to you? And I found that like happiness, means to me, having a balance, a balanced approach to where, like I said, I have that harmony between personal life and work life, where I have time where I see my family, I have time for myself, I have time for work as well, and everything is working in conjunction. And I find myself where if I'm least happy is when things get out of array, where I don't have those things working in as much harmony, and there were times, throughout this Vale journey where I remember, it's a funny story, but I'm opening store after store after store. And I know you saw it, on social media and stuff. We're just like freaking popping these things out. And people are like coming up to me like, oh my God, like you're killing it. You're killing it. You're doing so great and amazing businesses, stores, all these things. And I was so drained. I was so exhausted, and I was worked myself to the bone, and I wasn't in a healthy place. I mentally was in a place to where I was so focused on getting our customers and everything else happy and healthy. And I sacrificed myself in that process. And that was super important for me to kind of, it takes a lot to admit that, where like you find yourself in a place.
You'll feel it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt it. And I found myself, feeling, I was like, man, I'm just like working myself to a bone. And, like I said, I have that confidence and natural optimism, coffee helps. But I found myself in this place where, I put everything in the work department. And I had nothing in the personal world, and I didn't have much in my family world. So like things were just out of array, where I was just giving too much, where it was counterproductive, where I thought I was going 100% on my business, but I really wasn't. I was short. I was selling even my production, short because I wasn't whole. And people were coming up to me, saying, hey, yeah, you're killing it, this. And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking drained.
You're not feeling it.
I'm not it. Yeah, I'm like, you have no fucking clue. I'm fucking, and I don't feel,
people
that's
don't
great.
see this.
Exactly.
People
They don't see the
this.
lonely. They don't see that lonely side. They don't see the, how much, wear and tear, all of that growth can have. Growth is extremely taxing.
It's very taxing. It comes with its benefit, and it comes with its drawbacks. But that's very interesting, Sonny.
Yeah.
How you say that, and how you had to endure that, and that's the realness that I wanted to really talk with you about. Was there's so much more detail. I'd love to ask you about the business, and what I want to do is come back to this segment in about 6 months from now and see the growth of your business, see the growth of where we're at as a vision of how we're trying to help entrepreneurs, and we're really just going to show growth now, because what this to me was about was just running a high performance business mentality, that if we could help you at a startup level or at a level that you want to take it from 1 million to 10 and 10 to 50, what it's going to take. And you hit a lot of points in this conversation that we're going to have to segment so people can actually understand. But you running this business, man, it's been quite the journey for yourself.
Absolutely.
But you love it. I could tell you love it.
I love it. I'm passionate about it. I wake up every day, and I thank God, I can wake up every day and do what I love every day.
As simple as that,
It's as simple as that.
So I guess to end it off, I want to say, do you have any tips to entrepreneurs who are just want to find their level of success and run their business? You have anything you want to say to these people?
Biggest thing that I can say is, don't underestimate how much work goes into it. Understand that sacrifices, need to be made, to bring something from an idea to creation. Don't let, financial, setbacks, deter you from, pursuing what you want to do. And, if you really have a strong, belief in what you're doing, you can, make it happen.
Mhm.
But, ambitions is something that you have to keep in check. When I first opened, I couldn't afford to open up a restaurant. I had to work 3 years to be able to get to the point to where I could, so understand that, there's a certain level of respect to the grind that you have to really have before you feel like you can go all in. Because if you are 50-50 on it, don't do it. You're going to lose a lot of money. You got to be an all-in mentality, if you're going to really, do it and succeed at it, because you have to really, and I think you have to have that passion to sustain you through those ups and downs to where, you can get to the light at the end of the tunnel, so that drink a lot of coffee, hydrate, get your sleep. Sleep is something I'm huge on today. Back then, I wasn't able to I was just getting 5 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep. And I hate myself for that, because sleep is so critical. You want to be 100% charged for the day. So make sure you're giving your body, your health, everything you need to succeed.
And if somebody trips, and if somebody falls, somebody stumbles, somebody has a major setback or something that doesn't go that they plan, what would you say to them?
I would tell them to be solution driven. Be solution driven. Don't be problem focused. Obsessed where you're just fixating on the negative. Fixate on, okay, hey, how can I get through this? What happened? How can I, rebuild what was not working? How can because if you move at a certain speed in that approach, you're gonna really find yourself creating solutions and testing out new ways to where you can avoid those pitfalls. Because I think, those setbacks are a part of the journey. Every company has setbacks, no matter what company you have. And you have to embrace that as learning opportunities and really, really, take that as, the prime, determinants of, hey, where you need to be steering your business. Don't look at it as oh, I need to call it, this is it can't work. I mean, granted, if if there's a huge problem, you should definitely make sure you're really in tune with what you're doing and that it does make sense. But trust your gut, know what you're doing, and be solution focused.
And what I want to add to that is what Sonny said right there, just hit a chord with me again, was you could tell by that answer that he's not wallowing in anything. He's not crying about anything. Anytime I asked him about a challenge, he hit it right with a solution mentality to just make sure as you grow your business and you hit these obstacles that you take this approach. So thanks a lot for that advice, Sonny. I would say my quote of the day would be, today I'll do what others won't, so tomorrow I can do what others can't. Not that I'm better or want to do better than somebody. It was just because I did do that for that reason. That's why.
Awesome.
And that's what it takes. Action is great, but effective execution is better, because you're going to have to actually get it done, get the job done.
Absolutely.
The dreams and the ideas and even the machines that you put in place. It's amazing. But when that dollar sign and all those expenses get subtracted and then you see the result, that's the result. And one question I want to ask you, Sonny, about profitability, running a high-performance business, is EBITDA. Mm-hmm. What are you looking at in your business industry? What's a good EBITDA?
I mean, for us, it's typically been, 10 to 15%. It's a smaller in the restaurant space. We have certain divisions of the company that are, contributing larger amounts of profit, like catering. But typically in restaurants, there's a ton of expenses that goes into it. Mm. They can be, our top line revenue can be stronger to make that percentage, larger.
Of course.
But I would say best case run, scenario with the restaurants is anywhere from 10 to 15, 10 to 20%, bottom line EBITDA.
And would you say right now you're considered a 7-figure or 8-figure business?
I would say a seven figure business right now. Right now, especially with 2020 taking a hit, we hope that we're going to be growing into that 8 figure business mark in 2021 or beyond.
I love it.
And my goal is to open up more stores. Get more stores going, and be focused on growth, but the right type of growth and strategic growth that's going to be productive for the brand.
I love it. Well, listen, we're going to throw everything into the universe on this show. So if there's somebody out there that saw something they liked in this show, saw something with Sonny's company, we're going to put something out there that you can reach out to us and you can talk to us more detail, because he is doing amazing things. I think that if there is an opportunity, I would love to invest into the company because of how much growth I can already foresee. But more importantly, man, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for all your wisdom, man, and everything you're telling us and just your journey.
Absolutely, man. It's been great, being a part of it, and can't wait to get on here again soon.
I love it, man.